Free agent targets. NFL free agency is here. I am declaring it. And with that, we're going to check out the top 25 free agent targets for your Cleveland Browns at what I am going to take a stab at, and it's not a very bold take here, their biggest positions of need. CC, hint, the defensive line, and a little bit extra. But let's take a look at our first 5 free agent targets on the defensive line. We're going to go in depth on some of these guys, but it's Javon Hargrave, Dre'Mont Jones, Zach Allen, Samson Ebukam, and Leonard Floyd. Now, at the bottom, I've got their PFF ranks. Some of those guys are interior defensive linemen, like Javon Hargrave, Dre'Mont Jones. Some of them are exterior edge rushers coming from the outside, Ebukam and Leonard Floyd. So let's zero in on 2 names specifically that have really been rumored to the Browns, that have been, mentioned more than others, and that is Hargrave and Dre'Mont Jones. So Javon Hargrave last year, 11 sacks in 17 games. He was an absolute pillar of that great Eagles pass rush. Then there's Dre'Mont Jones from the Cleveland area, went to Ohio State. 6.5 sacks. He's been very consistent for the Broncos in his 4 seasons there, hanging around that 6.5 sack number every single year. Here's my issue with Dre'Mont Jones. There are rumors out there that Dre'Mont Jones might get as much as $18 million a season. If that's the case, I'm passing on Dre'Mont Jones. I'm not in the business of giving out $18 million a season to a guy who had 6.5 sacks last year. He might be an ascending player, but to me, that's just way too big of an overpay. And if a good chunk of your reasoning is, well, he's the hometown kid. Like, yeah, that's great, right? That can be the last little bit to decide between one player or the other. But at the tune of $18 million, no. You could have been conceived and born in First Energy Stadium, and I'm not paying you $18 million after a 6.5 sack year. Sorry. The other 3 guys on the list we looked at earlier, Zach Allen, he is really popular right now. He had a broken hand at the end of 2022, but he was a real up-and-coming defensive end, outside edge rusher. I like Samson Ebukam with the 49ers. He was never an every down player. He was more of a rotational guy. If he's in for a bigger workload in Cleveland, those 5 sacks could get closer to 8 or 9 sacks. And then there's Leonard Floyd, who had, by the way, another great season with the Rams. He has been Mr. Consistent, 9+ sacks in 3 straight years for LA, the former first-round pick out of Georgia for the Bears. But Ebukam is my under-the-radar guy. I haven't heard a lot of traction or a lot of buzz about the Browns going to get him. But then again, I didn't last year when they signed Taven Bryan, for crying out loud. So I think if Javon Hargrave gets more money elsewhere and the Browns aren't interested in paying Dre'Mont Jones $18 million, where do they turn to next? I think Ebukam is going to be a lot cheaper and a really productive player that with more usage, 5 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, we can get much closer to double digits from those 2 stat categories for Ebukam. So who do you think the Browns should sign on the defensive line? We're going to look at some more names in just a second, more than just those 5, don't worry. But of those 5 or someone else, let me know in the comment section. And while you're typing your favorite free agent target for the defensive line, the boss at Chat Sports, James Yoder, he runs a Michigan channel. So if you're an Ohio State fan, do with that what you will. He said that the Bengals channel is out-subbing the Browns channel. We recently just started a Bengals channel. I am not a part of it for a good reason. But let's see if we can shut the Bengals channel up. Can we get 25 new subscribers, start the benchmark there, and then retake the Browns Report as the number 1 Cleveland, Ohio YouTube channel at Chat Sports? Hit the sub button if you haven't already. More defensive line free agent targets. I'm going with 10 guys because it's that big of a need. There's Marcus Davenport, Brandon Graham, and Fletcher Cox, 2 guys from the Philadelphia Eagles who have connections with Jim Schwartz. Khalen Saunders, who was a bit of a rotational guy for the Chiefs last year, and Shy Tuttle. Those last 2, they're going to be much lower cost signings. And if Andrew Berry wants to stick to his same MO of not overpaying, or in his eyes, not paying big bucks to defensive linemen, those guys sort of fit the bill. Davenport's interesting. He was ranked, 26th best edge rusher by PFF last year? And he only had half a sack? What are we missing? Well, what we're missing is in 2021, he had 9 sacks in only 11 games. Now, the common theme for Davenport has been he's never played a full season, right? The closest he got was 15 games last year, which is not bad for NFL standards. Hard to find guys who play all 17 games this day and age. But half a sack in 15 games played doesn't really jump off the page as someone that you really want to see the Browns sign. I would probably pass on Davenport for that reason. Then there's Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox, who during the combine, rumors surfaced that they would be interested in a reunion with their old defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz, who they both had great seasons under and know how to get after the quarterback and definitely want to, maybe get the last best juice out of them as they are both nearing the end of their career. At the end of the day, the injuries are just too big of a red flag for me to ignore with Davenport. 9 sacks in 11 games, that's very attractive. Don't get me wrong, but I'm wondering, can you get 2-3 more years out of Fletcher Cox? He's younger than Brandon Graham. I know he's in his early 30s, and that's not really Andrew Berry's MO, but Andrew Berry has to learn that his strategy for the defensive line, for defensive tackles, hasn't worked. So maybe he should give an older veteran a shot who knows what he's doing and not experiment with younger guys who are way cheaper. We're going to check out some more free agent targets in just a moment. But first things first, like I stated before on the channel, we started a new NFL exclusive draft channel here at Chat Sports, and show it some love by subscribing. YouTube.com/ChatNFL. I put that link in the comments and the description. Now, if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and do so. And when you do, make sure to spam Browns in the comment section of the first video you see, because every single week we have a Monday Chat Sports company-wide meeting, and our boss goes through and sees what channel is best represented, and no one wants to be last. We're all competitive guys within the walls of Chat Sports, so help the Browns Report be the #1 most represented team over there. Subscribe and then spam Browns until your fingers bleed. More free agent targets now. Moving on to the safety position, and everyone's favorite, Jessie Bates. Along with CJ Gardner-Johnson, who recently has gotten a little bit of buzz. Then there's Julian Love, who'd be a little bit younger and a little bit cheaper, but had a great contract season. Juan Thornhill. Talk about a guy whose stock has risen despite not playing since the Super Bowl. And then Marcus Epps might be maybe the cheaper route if you strike out on some of the bigger name free agents out there. There is a lot of smoke around Jessie Bates. And when there's smoke, there's usually fire, at least in the NFL. I understand in free agency that nothing's a guarantee and things change and things are very fluid, but this name just keeps on resurfacing. And also, doesn't help for those that want to put out the Jessie Bates fires, that he shares the same agent with Deshaun Watson. And maybe by the time you're watching this, as we were recording this during our live show Thursday afternoon, Watson has already restructured his contract to help get Bates to the Browns. Then there's this as well from Matt Lombardo, who I don't think is all that great of a source, but we'll roll with it because it kind of fits the narrative right now. Interesting note as free agency nears. I keep hearing from team and agent sides that the safety market is unsettled and that multiple teams view safety as one of the deepest positions in the draft, which could keep spending at the position down in free agency. In English, Jessie Bates might not get close to $20 million. And if he is more in the 14 to 15, which I don't think he will be, I think he will get more than that. But if he doesn't, well, then the Browns can definitely make a contract that is just as competitive as other teams. But if the Atlanta Falcons, who have been very interested in Bates and have the second most cap space, roll in and drop off a big bag called $21 million a season, I don't think the Browns can do much about it. So what's plan B, right? Well, plan B should be reinforced plan A. But plan B in this situation might be Juan Thornhill, another name that's been very attractive for Browns fans talking about free agency. 71 tackles for Kansas City a year ago, 3 interceptions, 9 pass breakups. He was really dominant in the postseason. He's not going to cost as much as Jessie Bates, and he's still going to bring that oomph that the safety room is looking for to replace John Johnson. Moving on to wide receivers now. This has been a very, to be honest with you guys, bad group of free agents, right, for the wide receiver spot. When Juju Smith-Schuster is the best name, and I think he sucks, we got problems. But Mecole Hardman, Parris Campbell, DJ Chark, Olamide Zaccheaus, and Darius Slayton are names to watch for, right? They're not going to cost, DJ Chark's probably going to get the most money of the bunch, but they're not going to cost that much, and they all bring something the Browns desperately need, which is speed. 2 guys specifically I'm looking at is Mecole Hardman and Parris Campbell. For all of you that have been subscribed for quite some time, how long have I been talking about Mecole Hardman? I really hope this one happens. I think Mecole Hardman really fits the bill for what the Browns need, and that is speed, right? A guy who can stretch the field. They've got great boundary receivers in Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones with great hand skills that can bring in a tough grab, but they need to bring some speed into that huddle so that when they break, the safeties go. We can't just stack the box. We do have to take a step back, and we do have to respect the speed that this offense poses. Let's check out some linebackers now, okay? 2 of Cleveland's own free agents, Anthony Walker and Sione Takitaki. Then there's Lavonte David, who just before we started filming, a source said that the Browns are not that interested. Might be some smoke screens. I kind of hope so, because Lavonte David was awesome last year. Sounding like the Bucs won't bring him back. He's definitely older, but I'm not opposed to bringing on some veteran leadership for a defense that really needed it last year. Nicholas Morrow, I think, could be a 1-year kind of stopgap guy if they don't want to commit to anything long or, long-term or expensive. David Long for the Tennessee Titans, he was a relatively no-namer before 2022. Now he's going to get a good chunk of change in free agency. Of these 5, I might regret this, but I'm going to go Anthony Walker. He's been with the Browns for 2 years. He has missed considerable time, unfortunately, in those 2 seasons. But when he's on the field, this defense has a different beat to it, right? This defense marches together. This defense plays together. This defense is on the same page, it feels like. When he was off the field, they seemed out of sync, out of whack. So I will go with Anthony Walker, hoping that he can play close to 17 games. And if he gets hurt again, it's only my fault because we kind of saw it coming potentially. But there is also Takitaki. So if you had to pick one player to bring back, the Browns currently have 3 linebackers on their roster, JOK, Tony Fields, Jacob Phillips. I think they're going to roll into the 90-man camp with 6 or 7 guys. Probably only take 4 onto their active roster, maybe 5. But I only think they're going to bring back one of these 2. Who would it be? Walker or Takitaki? Put the number for the player you'd rather see the Browns re-sign more.